All right, welcome in to another episode of Carps Corner, and a lot of stuff to cover today. Some good, some not so good, little heart wrenching as well. So there's a lot of things that we need to get covered and talk about today. Some NFL, some college news. We even throw some LIV golf in there. We're talking about the Cleveland Browns, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Torrey Smith, former Baltimore Raven. Tony Siragusa played a lot of places, but also with the Ravens. So I guess it's kind of more of an East Coast flavor there, a little northern Midwest area, if you will. But I want to start with this. We'll start with the positives here. Ohio State and the recruiting that they've been doing at wide receiver over the last, 4 years has been ridiculous. And what Brian Hartline has been able to do is absolutely tremendous. We'll throw this up here and get started here right away. My man Jay Book tracks all this with Bucknuts. He does a great job. And so you look at this 97% closing rate. The guys he brings in 4 and 5 stars at an incredibly high level. And you look at what he's been able to do with these guys and how he's been able to turn these 4 and 5 star players into NFL draft picks. And this doesn't even include the guys who just left. This doesn't include Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. And those guys were the ones who kind of got it all started, but he took them and developed them. Zach Smith recruited those. Brian Hartline finished it up and ultimately took those guys and made them into great players. And so huge kudos to Brian Hartline. I'm going to tell you this, folks, and Brian, I'll be real with you. Like I played with him. I think a lot of them, he was a freshman my senior year. Kenton Glen Oak product, incredibly fast, but a really polished receiver. Had a really good NFL career, and what he has been able to do getting into coaching. I was curious. Always when former guys get into coaching, you never know how they're going to do. And Brian embraced this thing head on. He came in and, there's some opportunistic timing, with the Zach Smith departure, Urban leaves, and he kind of slides straight into there. Ryan Day keeps him on because you can see he has the knowledge base. And a lot of former players do. And a lot of former players, I think, could recruit if they really work at it. And Brian's a grinder. And here's the good thing. I mean, he's not selling, he's telling. What's the difference? He didn't have to sell you on what he's done. People know what he's done in the league. And now he can just tell you about the players he's developed, what he's been able to do with these guys once they get to Ohio State. And so people look at this and we talk about NIL and everyone gets caught up in that. And NIL, those dollars I think are important, but the short money versus the long money. Don't step over dollars to pick up pennies. As much money as you can make as an NIL, if you're a first round pick, you're going to dwarf it. Unless you're maybe a big time college quarterback, but for all other positions, it's not going to matter. And so what Brian Hartline has been able to do is bring these guys in. And the guys he inherited, he's developed at a high level. And so he has to tell people about it. Tell all these guys, say, hey, come on in. Be part of the crew. You're not going to play right away unless you're great. You're going to work. We're going to develop you. And I'm going to turn you into this guy 3 to 4 years from now. How does that sound? It's not for everybody. Some guys aren't for it, and some guys get impatient a little bit. Jameson Williams wanted to play. And listen, I watched J-Mo play. I'm like, dude, this guy's an elite talent. And Hart's like, he'll be a first round pick if he goes somewhere and plays and transfers. But he probably, maybe needs another year of seasoning. And we have guys who are better right now. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and now Jackson Smith and Jigba. And so you see these guys with what they've been able to do and what they've been able to put together. And part of it is with what Ryan Day has been able to do at the quarterback position. And so you look at when Ryan Day took over Ohio State. Urban Meyer, great coach, won a national title here, 2 at Florida, had the Buckeyes college football playoff right there on the cusp, could have potentially won another if it wasn't for sanctions. But he had a power running scheme out of a spread offense. He wanted dual threat quarterbacks. Well, Dwayne Haskins kind of changed all that. And the emergence of Ryan Day and him coming in kind of changed all that. And Urban gave him the ability to call games and to run an offense as he chose to see it. And doing that, you have a drop back quarterback. You start getting more productivity from your receivers. You get quarterbacks that are drafted in the first round. That perpetuates other quarterbacks to come here. And in doing so, they can help recruit those receivers. And you get great receivers and great quarterbacks, and the cycle perpetuates itself. And that's what they've been able to do here. And Ryan Day kind of got all that kicked off. And Brian Hartline has been an ace at bringing those guys in. And so now, like, you have CJ Stroud at quarterback. And you look at what you have behind him and the elite players, Kyle McCord right there as well, Devin Brown waiting in the wings. Both of those guys are very talented. After CJ leaves, it'll be a slugfest to see who can get that job. You have Dylan Raiola, who's coming in a couple years after that. And so we'll throw this up here. And you look at this can be potentially the Ohio State receiver and quarterback trio with Dylan Raiola, Brandon Ennis, and Carnell Tate. I mean, they got them all. Hartline just nailed 3 dudes, 2 5-stars and a 4-star, and that is what you can potentially have. And so all those guys get together. Hey, you going here? Yeah, I like it. You going here? Yeah, I like it. And so this is how modern recruiting works. Start getting the momentum. You land a guy or two, especially get that centerpiece like Dylan Raiola at quarterback, and the receivers start flocking. And you've got other great guys on the roster. And here's the best thing that Brian Hartline does. He's honest with these guys. He's honest with them. You want to go somewhere else and catch 100 balls your freshman year, you might have a chance to do that. But you're going to cap out. I'm going to develop you. You're going to work in this room against other elite receivers. We showed you the list of 4 and 5-star guys who are grinding, who all have specific skill sets. And so you're going to come in and work against these guys. You're going to compete every day in the competitive excellence that they preach, the competitive excellence, working every day at a task. It's going to ultimately pay dividends. And that's going to allow you to be the best player that you can ultimately be. And so with that, that's when you're able ultimately to have success. And it's really stinking impressive. And so I'm blown away with what my man Hart's been able to do, with what Ryan Day has been able to do to develop this offense, Kevin Wilson, who has been a part of it as well. And they're building a monster. And this is how you have to build it if you ultimately want to compete with teams like Clemson, with Bama, with Georgia, maybe USC here, as Lincoln Riley maybe gets them going. But that is how you compete. You build with an elite quarterback, elite receivers. You develop a strong offensive line. They still have really talented running backs at Ohio State. And now they're starting to develop that defense. That is how you begin to build monsters, because great players want to play with great players, especially on that side of the ball and in an offense now where you can have an NFL offense, project guys to go in and play, have success at the next level. And now all of a sudden that ball is rolling, and it's rolling downhill in a hurry. And so great job by Hartline this week and Ryan Day of sealing this thing up and putting together an unbelievable roster for the coming years. All right, now we've got some other news. We're going to jump to the Cleveland Browns. We're going to jump to Deshaun Watson. We'll throw this up here. Adam Schefter tweeted this out, widely reported. The 24 alleged lawsuits against him for 24 lawsuits of alleged sexual assault, sexual harassment, misconduct, all of those things. 20 of them are being settled. So there's still 4 remaining. Now, looking at this tells me a couple things. Number 1, the NFL wants this to be done. Number 2, the Browns want it to be done. Number 3, I think Deshaun Watson knows that it's in his best interest to get these settled. Now, he came out and said he wouldn't take a settlement. The attorney on the other side for the accusers said they wouldn't take a settlement, but that's all posturing. That's how this works. It's a civil case. There is no criminal trial. And so the only settlement in this is ultimately going to be monetary, whether it's a settlement or ultimately it's a decision rendered by the court. It's going to be monetary. There won't be any jail time involved. And so you get to it beforehand. So 20 of the 24 are settled. I believe Deshaun Watson knows the NFL wants this to be done. if you can get this wrapped up, we have an idea of what your punishment could be. Don't let it drag on, because the NFL hates bad publicity. And the only thing they hate more than bad publicity is consistent bad publicity, like a trickle of water over time that does not stop. So get these things wrapped up. Also, I believe he would not have settled the first 20 unless he had assurances and knowing that he'd be able to settle the other 4. And there's a wrench in this, and I'll have to go back and look and try to determine this, because I know the Houston Texans were thrown in as co-defendants on some of these. And I don't know if those 4 are separate with that. So the Texans will have to get involved, and maybe there's more money because of the NDAs and the fact they facilitated things. I'm not sure exactly how all that's working, but I know that they're probably going to get them done, because there's no point in selling 20 unless you can get the whole shebang done. By the way, there was also supposed to be 25 and 26. Now, I don't know if those haven't been filed yet, if maybe there can just be a non-disclosure agreement signed, and that can be taken care of that way, right out of court, and it doesn't even have to have a lawsuit filed. But I don't feel like 25 and 26 are ever going to see the light of day as well. So I guess this is good news for Deshaun Watson. I would anticipate him getting at least 8 games, maybe 10. And at that point, is the season shot, we'll see where they're at. The Browns can be 5-5, 6-4. I think Deshaun Watson can come in, salvage that thing, piece it together, and maybe they can make a run over the last 7 games. All of a sudden, you start getting to 12 games. Well, that's where this thing starts getting a little hairy. And I don't know if that's salvageable at that point. You'd be having really about a quarter of the season left, and that might not be enough. But it's amazing that both sides said, Tony Busby, Rusty Hardin, Deshaun Watson, I'm innocent of all these charges. I'm not going to settle. And I believe Deshaun Watson didn't want to settle. He probably wanted to take this the distance. But you'll look at this eventually and you realize it's in your own best interest to do this. Now, are people happy about it? Probably not. Are there Browns fans that are turned off by this? Absolutely. Is the NFL they don't like this at all, but they're going to be happy it's done. And if Deshaun Watson ends up being a really good quarterback for the Browns, this will be part of his story. But the better he is and the more success you can write, it'll be a smaller footnote. And that's not my opinion of how it should be. That's just the way that we historically write things. Because the greater somebody does at their given profession, we generally tend to forgive their misgivings and their mistakes. And you look at presidents, famous figures, sports figures, musicians, whatever it might be, the better they are at what they do and the more famous and popular and the better feelings and emotions they elicit from you, the more you're able to forgive on the other side. And the less you focus on some of the things they were accused of or found guilty of or allegedly to be involved with, all of those things, they become a smaller part of that story. So Browns moving on, Deshaun Watson moving on. NFL, I'm sure they're going to get something out here. So June 23rd, June 22nd, we're rounding out the end of the month. It's going to be July soon, and they wanted to get this wrapped up, I believe, before the 4th weekend. And so they're honing in on this, and this thing's going to get solved here rather quickly. Let's package that up, put that away. Another NFL story. Torrey Smith came out, guy who's a contemporary of mine, smart dude, Baltimore Ravens. And they were talking, I believe it was Garrett Wilson was talking about how he got hit up for $75,000 in his rookie dinner check. Now, for me, I had some pretty good vets. My rookie dinner wasn't that much. I was a 1st-round pick. We had a 3rd-round pick, a 4th or 5th rounder, a couple of free agents. And so what they basically did, and we had a lot of older vets who weren't even really into it at the time. They had families, they had kids, they even show up. And so of our 24 defensive guys or 23, whatever it was, 22, there was maybe 15 or 16 guys there. And some of the guys who were a little more veteran came early. They weren't drinking a lot. They weren't trying to stick it to dudes and be crazy. And that's the problem with this. Our rookie meal, I still have the tab up. So I think it was $9,800, maybe 10 too. And so I paid $6,500 of it. Our 3rd-round draft pick paid a couple grand. Our 5th-round draft pick paid $1,000. A couple of the undrafted free agents threw like 500 in. And then a couple of the vets actually tipped and took care of that. And it was the fact that you're sitting there as a rookie. And this is the thing about the rookie dinner, because you can't haze anymore. You can't do those things. But the rookie dinner is supposed to be built up in lore to where there's an anxiety, there's an indebtedness, and it puts everybody in their place to where you have to take care of other guys and you know that they can do whatever they want to you. And if you want to push back and be that rookie, it's going to be painful for you. It's going to be painful. And so everybody's done it, from Peyton Manning, LaDainian Tomlinson, all Lawrence Taylor, all these rookies. I mean, this thing's been done for 40 years. They have these rookie dinners. And so we'll throw this up. Torrey Smith wants to eliminate it. He said, rookie dinners are BS. I'm glad I had an OG that realized that teaching me to blow money is stupid. It does not prove you belong on the team. Shout out to Anquan Bolden. Dudes come into the league with no financial literacy, the real problem and real problems, but folks think $50K on dinners is cool. Nah. Let's look at this. Anquan Bolden's a dude, and he's a veteran. He took care of them. And listen, rookie dinners are a part of it, and rookies should pay, and they should do that stuff. Should vets be ridiculous? Absolutely not. And if you're a good rookie and you do your stuff and you take care of business and you do what you need to do, you're going to go pay it. You're going to take care of it. And it's not going to be something that's crazy. It's just going to be part of it. And so it's not 50 grand, it's 10 grand, because that's what it should be. For first round draft picks, those dudes that got some cash, $10,000, you'll find in your life, you'll have wasted a lot more than that. And that's not me downplaying it, but there's a rite of passage to it. There's an understanding. There's a respect for your veterans and knowing that you can't just, Peyton Manning carried pads the same way you carried pads. Same way Matt Stafford carried pads. They took dudes out to dinner. They've done those things. They've all been a part of it. Now, some bets get ridiculous. And it's usually the guys who won't work that hard, who are like fringe dudes on the team. And most of them are in between like their third and fourth, fifth year, and they're probably on their way out of the league. And, they're just salty and they want to take it out on rookies who are ultimately taking their job. And that's wrong, man. It's a respect thing where I'm buying you dinner. A rookie dinner is no different than you taking out a friend for dinner, someone new at work. And I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to take care of you. And so the rookies are basically, the rookie dinner is like buying wisdom, and you're going to sit there and do it. We would go out to defensive dinners all the time when I was with the Cowboys, almost every Thursday. And everybody would throw in together, but spending time with vets and understanding and learning that wisdom, that's big time. That's big time. And so I'm a huge proponent of the rookie dinner. I'm just not a proponent of vets taking advantage. And most of them don't. And a lot of the guys I was with, and I did it the next year. You know why? Because dudes did it for me. I chipped in. Hey, here's $1,000. And to tell you the truth, I actually paid for Anthony Spencer's rookie dinner the year after mine, because he tried to have his first purchase on his credit card be $10,500 or whatever it was, and they wouldn't run it. I said, all right, bro, I'll get it for you. Just get me a check back, knock 1,000 off of it. And I got that for you. And that's me. And and you know what? He's a good dude. And Spence and I are friends, and it was all great. I think we rode to the rookie dinner together, and I was the, second year dude. He's the rookie, but like all of our vets, they chip in, throw in some cash, and they wouldn't hit guys up too much. They get some expensive shots, a couple expensive bottles of wine, but dudes get foolish, man. They start taking bottles to go and start doing ridiculous things. And that doesn't need to happen. The rookie dinner is a rite of passage, and it's important for the development of the team. And I like it. And I understand what Torrey Smith is saying, because it shouldn't be 50 grand. And it should be divided. You got your first round pick. Okay. You got a third, a second, fifth, whatever it might be. And it should be tiered. And the first rounder should eat about 75, 65% of it, depending on who else is out there, maybe 80. But, you do that and you share in the burden together. But that's all part of being a team. It's a rite of passage. But just don't be hitting up your rooks for 50 grand, man. Des Bryant got that because he refused to carry pads. He didn't want to do anything else. He was kind of a jerk. Des is a great player, and he ended up being a great teammate. But he wasn't going to do any of that stuff, so the guys hit him hard. But that's about falling in line and understanding that dudes have been doing this for over 50 years, and it's part of the process, and you respect guys in the league who have been there, because once you get there, you realize how hard it is to stay in the NFL. And that is why I support the rookie dinners 100%. Now, let me get to some sad stuff here. I don't like. Tony Siragusa, 55 years old, Colts defensive tackle, Ravens defensive tackle, won a Super Bowl with him. Passed away. Only 55. Jim Irsay, former Colts owner, he played for him, obviously played for the Ravens. Very talented defensive tackle. Everyone remembers Goose, man. Big personality, worked for Fox on the sideline. Good dude, man. Good dude. I mean, I've seen so many guys pass away in the last couple of weeks. I don't even want to talk about my dude, Marion Barber. There have been other guys who have been younger. And it's hard. It's hard to play. And it's hard to get done playing. Because as I just talked about those rookie dinners and the craziness of those and how they can get out of control, there's a camaraderie to it. And I don't know what Goose died of. And I'm honestly like, I don't even want to know with guys now. Guys who I played with, dudes who my dad played against, guys that were in between us. It's too much. It's too much, man. If you watch this program a lot, that's why I talked about, Top Gun, why I love it so much. It's the conversation you see there sitting between Mav and Ice, Tom Cruise, Val Kilmer. Dude's 35 years later after making the first movie, and Val Kilmer's had, throat cancer, has a trach box, and you see guys having conversations later in life, and you don't know which side of that conversation you might be on later. And you see this happen to Goose and other guys, and man, it hits close to home. It's tough. 55 isn't old, especially not for someone who was a professional athlete, who has means. Goose a big dude, but I don't even want to know any of the details, man. I'm done with details. I'm done with it on it. I don't want to know why, how it happened, whatever it was, because all of us have problems. Every one of us. I encourage people to talk to friends, talk to family, get help. Man, I got issues. I got a lot of issues. I know my dad had them. Like, everybody goes through that stuff, but you shouldn't go through it alone. And I have no idea what Goose was battling. But man, like, watching him on the 2000 team, like being a big part of it, like, great dude. Very beloved in the league, in league circles. It's just really tough to see that. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to watch. It's hard to hear. It's hard to talk about. Because we shouldn't have to be talking about that anymore. That's some other stuff, man, I want to get to, but we'll get to the Koepka stuff in the next episode and some other things that are happening. It's hard. It's hard to see guys pass, especially in the summer, and you're getting ramped up for football season. Everybody's excited about it, and you see this and that. And we'll get the Gronk retirement and everything else, and whether I think he's coming back. But players passing away, man, too early is something that it's tough. It's tough to deal with. I wish I had a better way to articulate it. I wish I was Ralph Waldo Emerson or someone, Henry David Thoreau or Charles Dickens or Hugh Pickett. I mean, and I could sit here and be a great orator and find the words to describe it. But Frederick Douglass, I don't know. You pick the person. I can't do that. I'm not that skilled. So pay respect to them. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, share, like, comment, stuff you want me to get into, please ask. We got a good summer coming up, and hopefully we won't have to deal with any more of this. So thank you. And until next time, talk to you soon.